I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hi, y'all. It's Amelia Sai. We're here for the after show for AfterBuzz. For we're here on HBO. So much drag, so much makeup, so much death drop. It was insane. And I'm here with Cody. Cody, how are you doing? How is it going?
I'm well. Quarantined and sweating, but I'm good.
I know. We're in LA and it's like 150 degrees. It's insane. It's like summertime.
In the last week, it changed real quick.
It really did. It really, just like a drag queen, it went 180, full 180. I love it. Yeah. So this show was very long. It got really in there, and it really was like much like a docuseries. It was very Queer Eye meets RuPaul's Drag Race, and they really jumped in. And what I loved about the show was how they broke it up. So they had obviously 3 drag queens. They had Bob, the drag queen, Shangela, Laquifa, which I did not know that was her middle name, and Eureka. So these are 3 drag queens from RuPaul's Drag Race, and that's kind of where they all got famous. And they broke up the show into the different people. So Shangela was with Hunter, Bob the drag queen was with Daryl, who was kind of like a really important person in town. They were in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and they did a really good job of kind of setting the show up. And then Eureka was with, I believe her name was Diane.
Erika,
yes. And so they really did a great job breaking it all up. And then what they did is the beginning setup was basically having all the drag queens walk through town and have all the reactions. And then obviously they had to kind of insert, which was really great, right?
Yeah.
And they had to insert kind of that person that, said something derogatory, because we had to get that in the show, And then we'll go through all of the different people and their all of their stories. And then we'll do a quick news segment and a quick little special segment, and we'll do some predictions. And then we'll, I don't think they showed the promo, and then we will just kind of wrap up there. But before we do all that, Cody, what was your overall thoughts of the show?
I really like it. I'm a little late to the table when it comes to the world of drag queens. So between this and the other show Dragnificent that's out, I'm actually learning a lot, and I'm learning and I'm getting to know these people, and it's really exciting. And this one, we're here is just very. I agree. It was a lot for one episode, but it's very heartfelt and emotional, and I think they hit a lot of really good points, and I'm excited to keep going.
Awesome. Yeah, I felt the same way. There was moments where I was like, oh, it's still going. But I wasn't mad at it. You know what I mean? I wasn't upset. I wasn't oh God, this is so long and drawn out. Because I felt like the stories were so beautifully told in it. And, HBO has that budget for those cameras and the music, and they have those interviews. So they did a really good job. The only thing that I think that was missing from my overall thoughts was I wish there would have been more of their stories, because I actually know Bob and Eureka, and I feel like their story, and I guess every episode, hopefully those will come out more. But I wish they would have told us more about their stories and kind of, Eureka opened up a little bit, but I just wish it was a little more drag queens. And less kind of just the townspeople, because they're not really used to being on camera. So I kind of wish there was a little more with the drag queens. But yeah, that's kind of my little overall thought. But let's talk about right off the top. So Shangela got Hunter. Hunter works at kind of an Ulta Beauty or whatever in town. What were your thoughts about Hunter and his story and how that all came together with the dad? What were your opinions?
I thought it was really sweet. I feel like that's definitely for lack of a better word, it's a very trying to use the correct verbiage here. It was. I feel like it's a very familiar story that a lot of people in the LGBTQ community have felt with father issues and approval, and I think, and we definitely see that. I think Hunter has definitely hit a point in. Obviously we don't know his whole life story, but it seems like it's clear that he definitely struggled. And it looks as though his family, though maybe they don't show it, they do support him, whether or not it's 100%. We do see that I think there has been a growth within his family, and it's good to see it, especially, and the dad showed up for him during the episode. Like I said, not 100%, but he was there for him, which was good.
Absolutely. And I think that a lot of times when it comes to that support, you're right, they still came to the table. They still were able to get filmed. Like these are all like steps in the right direction. And much like you said, it is a very familiar story. Like when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay. But I think what stood out for me was Hunter's energy and like the way he did the drag and kind of the way he was willing to listen to kind of Shangela's opinions. And I think my favorite part about that whole story was when Shangela was like, cameraman, back up. You got to see it from head to toe. I thought that was really funny. I was like, that's fun. It brought some light to kind of a bit more of a heavy show. Yeah. And much like Queer Eye, they had like JVN, they had people to break up the humor. So I feel like Shangela is kind of the comedic tone of the show and breaks it up a little bit so it's not so serious. So I liked Hunter. I thought Hunter was, and Hunter might have a career in drag, who knows? Like,
he did a good, he looked great. He did a good job.
Great job.
Like, I was here for it.
Right? Maybe you heard it here first, Hunter. You might have a career in drag. Even when he did the little dance move, I was like, who taught you that?
Right?
It was great. It was really, really great. I was gonna ask you, Cody, do you know what the timeline was? Like how long were they in the town for? I wasn't sure about that. A week or longer?
I truthfully the way they made it sound was it was less than a week. But at the same time, I mean it's television, who knows when the actual breakdown was. Sure. But at one point it was after their drag show that Hunter he said this has been the most like intense few days. So to me it sounds like they like showed up, they were there for like 3 or 4 days and like just really got it all together. Like I'm sure there was a lot of planning, but it didn't seem like they were there that long.
Right. It was like they just drove in with their RVs and it was like get the work done and hallelujah and out they went. So it was intense, but I really enjoyed that story with Hunter. So let's move on to a bit more of an intense story. Obviously Eureka and her daughter who came out as bisexual, and you could just see the drama in all of that because the mom said like I can't breathe and had a full-on panic attack, and I just love the way that Eureka allowed her to have her moment and then kind of went to her and opened up and was very willing to listen, and I thought it was great. I thought that was such a beautiful scene. What were your thoughts about that?
I just found that to be very heart-wrenching because it's like, I'm fortunate enough that I haven't experienced, I've never had family like disown me or tell me I can't be who I want to be. But you hear about it all the time and it really breaks my heart. And just like, and you can see it in Erica's face. She even said, like, I haven't seen my daughter in 8 months. She moved in with her dad because of what I did, what I said. And she feels penitent about it, but her daughter is not there. And she does go to the show, which is great. It shows that she's at least accepting that olive branch. But she even says in the interview, she's like, my mom does this, mom does that. But it's like, that doesn't change what she said. And it was really hard to watch that because it's just so real and so painful on both sides. And it made me really, it made me really sad. That was one of the parts that I really was like, I was emotional.
Yeah. Same here. Absolutely. And I think that those moments like hit very home for a lot of people. And my experience was very rough. So I was not accepted and I didn't talk to my parents for months. And so I can relate to that story. And a lot of times when you're in that moment and you need the support when you need it, because when you get to a certain age, I'm 33, you don't need it anymore. So when Haley needed the support, the mom didn't give it to her. And then for her to go, I'm giving mom hugs and I'm the LGBTQ Alliance and I'm going to wear this jumpsuit that says, I love Haley. I know that finally got to Haley, but it's like all of those things don't matter if you had just been supportive from the beginning. So it's like, I kind of understood where Haley was coming from because this is a very public setting. It's kind of like, is the mom doing it for TV or is she doing it because she really wants to connect with her daughter? It's like, sometimes it gets kind of hard to tell the difference. So I hope that Erica's intentions are pure. So
it seems like they are, because I think if she was in it for just like the TV exposure, I mean, granted, we don't know Eureka on a personal level, but if it was for the TV exposure, I think it would be in the light of what she initially believes in. And maybe just the TV exposure gives her a platform to make a bit like for like a big romantic gesture for her daughter. Like, I'm here for you. Because it seems, because I mean, nothing against Haley, but it just seems like her daughter's really hurt. And even though she came to the show, I don't think she's it seems like she's still not really ready to mend that bridge.
Well, I think Haley didn't want to come off a certain sort of way on TV as well. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure she's
course,
like,
of course,
right? Yeah, she's like Gen Z. She knows like people are going to like attack her in the comments. Like, she's not dumb.
Oh
So
my
I think
God,
on some level, and she came with her girlfriend, which was kind of cute. So I was like, that's nice that she came with the support. I mean, it would have been nice, I think, and the producers were probably pushing for this for them to kind of maybe talk after the show. But I think that, again, that's like Eureka said, it's a step in the right direction. And Eureka said a quote that I really liked, that a full face is like war paint. It makes you feel protected. And I think that in some ways, when the mom put the makeup on and put the war paint on, she was like able to kind of confront that whole situation, which I thought it was really well done. And again, I don't know how they got so good and comfortable with being on stage. I think this was just a good batch of people, because I don't know people are going to be this good in the next episode, because it's hard to be on stage in that outfit. So I don't know. Like, we'll have to wait and see.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I want to see some people like flop and maybe lose their wigs or something. We'll have to wait.
Let's not have a perfect performance.
No, we don't want a perfect performance. It's kind of a little boring. But let's talk, right? We want some drama. We need some wigs. We need some makeup melting. We need something. So the last, best for last, I really liked Daryl's story. I thought he was really fun, and you know, being a person of color in a town that's mainly white. And even when Eureka was talking to someone in town, he kept saying colored. And Eureka was like, "Oh, you can't say that anymore." So yeah, I was like, yeah, that's a little tone deaf. But you know, we have to understand this is Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It's a town of 7,000 people. I'm not excusing it, but I'm just saying we have to also be cognizant of that as well.
Absolutely.
And so Daryl, right? And so Daryl said, I'm trying to remember the exact wording, but he said, as a Black man, I want to be understanding of LGBTQ people. If I want to be an ally, I have to step into that role, and I have to really be, which I thought was like, wow, like he's so self-aware, right? Do you remember that? And like that's before he got into drag.
Yeah, he was saying that like if he wants people to understand him, he wants to be able to show that he can understand people, which was really, I mean, very. It was amazing to hear that, and it was really cool. And I literally wrote, I wrote like straight ally. He's great. And
we love a straight ally.
And his performance was great. He looked wonderful, and it's so in that juxtaposition of seeing like how, I mean, I don't want to like throw shade, but like how Hunter's dad wasn't willing to get dressed up, and then like we have this other straight man who was just like, yeah, like let me show my support. Let me show that like gender bending does not make me less of a man. Like, here we go.
It doesn't. Yes. I mean, it's funny because rock stars do it and straight people are fine with that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like all of them do it. I mean, like literally like the whole Rolling Stone is gender bending. So it's just funny to me that like when it comes to drag or gay, oh, that's feminine. And I thought it was funny that even just quickly before we get to Daryl, I want to talk about Hunter's dad. He did come out, but then it's like, he still didn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I would rather you just sit in the audience than do like your hair up and then wear like a motorcycle outfit. I was like, he didn't really commit to it, so I would rather you just not do anything. So I heard,
yeah, go big or go home. I hear it.
Right? Like, I was like, kind of like, why did you, like, it just felt like, oh, here, look, I'll just throw you something and you'll stop asking me to do it, which I thought was kind of like, okay. But quickly, okay, back to Daryl. So then, and what I loved about Daryl was when he's like, put all the makeup on me. I want to look gorgeous. Like, I need to be stunning. And he was just like so fun. And he really took all of Bob the drag queen's notes. The only thing is, Bob is so well known for doing a lot of comedic stuff. I wish Daryl would have done a little comedy. Maybe it was too much to ask for, but it would have been nice to see him do a little comedy. Because he came out looking like what do they call those? Southern Belle. So I thought that was kind of funny. It was cute. I think Daryl really came out. He was wearing a bustier. So he really, really tried. So how did you feel about that story? I know Daryl didn't really open up too much about his story aside from being a person of color in the South. But like, is that the South? I don't know. Is Pennsylvania the South? I don't know. In Pennsylvania. But what did you think about his story and like his progression?
I mean, there wasn't really much into it. I feel like maybe there's more that we weren't seeing on camera that we're not privy to. But like I said, that's kind of all I have is he's a straight ally, and he was very open-minded and very willing to participate, which is appreciated. But I just feel like there was a little more. There were maybe a few more layers that maybe just weren't put on camera after editing.
Right.
But that's really all the energy or vibe I got from that.
Totally. Yeah, he didn't really give us a lot. It's true. I mean, I think Hunter and Eureka gave us so much. So maybe they picked a story that was a little bit more watered down. That was kind of like, okay, like we're not gonna like emotionally like burden you. Cause I felt like with Erica's story, I was like I was watching it like 1 a.m. and I'm like, oh my God, this is really affecting me, you know? So I think it's good to break it up. It's good to break it up. And listen, Shangela did an interview with Entertainment Tonight and she said this is more than a makeover show. So clearly she was right. And it's because when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's just gonna be people getting into drag and dancing around, but they really get deep. So if you're looking for a show, you're missing Queer Eye, you're missing RuPaul's Drag Race, which is still on, but you want something like that, this is really the show for you. So I think it's a very fun show, and I highly recommend it. So before we move on to news, are there any other last thoughts, Cody?
I wrote. Oh, my handwriting is so bad. I wrote that Eureka in her in her drag costume, she looked like the fairy godmother from Shrek 2, which I am totally here for. She looked amazing. I love the fairy godmother in Shrek 2. And someone said something about the guy. This is just a small note. The guy who Eureka was talking to, who was saying not so PC things.
Sure.
Eureka asked him, was like, "Oh, like, do you think there are like queer people in your community?" And he was like, he said, "I think it's about half and half."
That's what he said. I was like, what?
And Eureka was like, "You think half the people in this town are queer?" And he was like, "I don't know." But that was
pretty funny.
I thought it was just really funny because I was like, that was half and half.
I know, bold. I heard that and I was like, is this guy on the DL? Like, wow, he must be hitting that grinder hard. I don't know. I was like, half the town is gay. I was like, what? Okay. That was really funny. That was a good one. Cody, what news do you have for us?
So I have this article from Yahoo Entertainment, and it's kind of they're talking with HBO, and what they're really, I was trying to find something that wasn't just like a recap of the show. So what they have here is that We Are Here takes its title from the LGBTQ activist organization Queers Nation's famous chant from the 1990s HIV and AIDS protests. We're here, we're queer, get used to it, which was eye-opening to me. I didn't make the connection until I read this, and I was like,
me neither.
Hell yeah. So while it can be interpreted as a rowdy greeting from three larger-than-life personalities crashing a small town in showgirl costumes, it can also be read as a raise of the hand, a reminder that our queer communities and outsiders of that queer communities and outsiders of all stripes exist, and have the right to feel welcome in all parts of the country. It extends to anyone who doesn't feel seen, anyone who feels like their voices aren't being heard in the mainstream. We are coming into we are coming into your town, and we're putting on a drag show, and we're going to bring you into a world, and we're going to tell you your story in your community through this counterculture. And and what I really like about that description is that it's not, any drag queen is a big personality, and it's especially in drag, it's an even bigger personality. And I like that they're trying to make it a point, like, we're not here to like culture shock you. We're here to show you that we're here even when we're not here. Like, we are here, and the world does need to get on board.
yes, they really do. And I had thought, like, it's so eye-opening to me as well, because I didn't make that connection. I had thought it was based off of a movie from the 90s called Tu Wong Fu, Thank You, Julie. Thank You for Everything, Julie Neymar, which is with Wesley Snipes. And it's like such a great movie. And it's like three straight men go and they do drag in these towns. And like, I mean, it's straight actors playing these drag queens going into these towns. And it's very similar to this. They go and then they kind of do shows and they kind of change the way the town thinks. So I thought it was based off of that, but I think the HBO is always gets a little deeper. So bringing that whole AIDS crisis stuff into it is very smart and very well done. Yeah, thank you for that, Cody. That was great.
I think you make a point, though. I'm sure it sounds the movie. It sounds like what you're describing is very on the nose. So I'm sure it does come. There have to be some
Parallels.
Thank you.
Of course.
Sometimes my vocabulary just goes out the window.
No, it's all good. We're all in quarantine. We're just like trying to figure our lives out. I get it. It's
like
no
all
problem.
week I've had to ask all my other panelists and members, I'm like, what time do we normally film? Because I don't remember anything anymore. Like,
I know, it's so bad. The other day I thought I missed something and I was like, oh my God, it's the next day. It's like nobody has any clue of their day or night or whatever. But yeah, thank you for the news. That was very enlightening. I love it. And we'll bring you more news as the show kind of builds up because, you know, it's the first episode. And then I also it just dawned on me that we don't need to do predictions because we can't predict who they're going to see. So it's like pointless to do predictions. We will just kind of keep covering these stories and hopefully like things will like build up in the show and, you know, it'll find its footing. And, you know, I think that like it just took itself a little ways to kind of find what the brand is. But I think as the second and third episode comes, like they're going to be more comfortable. And hopefully we can bring some of the drag queens on the show as well. We'll do our best to bring that to you guys. But before we go, we're also going to do a quick special segment just because we don't have predictions. So we're going to do a special segment. Basically, in the show, they kept talking about what are you afraid of? And the idea is like getting in drag is about being fearless. It's about a lot of drag queens. If you see them off stage, they're very quiet. They're very reserved. It's like kind of like an alter ego. It's like an armor. It's like Beyonce's Sasha Fierce kind of vibe. So the segment's basically going to be like, what are we afraid of and how are we like getting past it? So do you have any fears that like you're currently dealing with that you want to get past, I guess? I don't know.
I guess I'm sure I do. The only thing, one thing that I guess I'm afraid of, I'm afraid of like rejection, like, but not like so much just like asking someone out, but just in general, like I don't like talking to I have authority issues, so that's a whole other thing. But I don't like to talk to my superiors or people above me and like ask them for things. I don't want to be told no because I don't want to. And it's, I mean, I'm sure there's more to it, but
yeah, there's more to it.
That's
Cody,
something
for sure.
I don't like. I know, right? I should seek some counseling. But but it sometimes it gets to a point where like I just won't ask for what I want when it's just that simple. And it's like the worst, and I know this, and it's like the worst thing that could happen is the worst that could happen is they're gonna say no. And it's like, oh, that's not the end of the world. So it's just like more like getting over that hump of like, I already know what it is. I just need to like get over it.
I think being self-aware is like a great step in the right direction because a lot of people are not aware that they're like that. They're just like, I don't like authority, but you're aware that it's like it's another step. It's not just that. I mean, that's the first step. Like you got to do something, right? And I think that for me, like I will not even ask, like if I'm bored, I will not even ask my own friends to go out because I don't want to be rejected. I don't like being hurt. I just don't like when people are like, no, you know?
No,
like,
sorry.
I just don't like
even
that.
It's as simple as going out. Like if you're like, hey, like, what are you doing tonight? Let's go out. Like, oh, I can't. I'm doing this. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I'm like,
now what?
Now what? Like, it's crazy because I don't even mind being alone, but it's like in my head,
Same.
It's like just that rejection of like, oh, like I hate when someone's like, oh, I have plans tonight. And I'm like, ugh, okay, like we get it. Like you have plans, you know? It's like
you have plans,
it can be very triggering.
Either invite me or don't talk about it.
Exactly. Well, that's a good thing to work on. I like that. I think what would be mine? I think mine is probably like, I have a fear of people, this is going to get very deep, but it's like, I have a fear of people like abandoning or like kind of like leaving me when they realize like who I really am. Because I have like I do stand-up comedy and I'm like the center of attention and all that stuff. But like, I also have a very introverted side. And a lot of times when I show that, people are like, oh, what happened? Are you okay? Like, where did you go? Like, where is that Amir that we're used to? So I think it's being aware of the difference and kind of getting to a place where I'm not scared of just like being myself. And so that's what I'm trying to work on, but it's not the easiest thing.
I totally get that. I know I can like, when I'm like, not, I'm good with new people, but I'm very much like, I know I'm a big personality and I don't want to like come off as too overwhelming. So like, I very much like, I have to ease my way into getting with people because I don't want to be the one to come across as like, whoa, like he's a lot. Like,
right. I hate that. I hate when people say that. You're a lot. It's like, well, no shit. Like, it's like duh.
I was like, duh.
Yeah. We're very in sync today, and it's great. Yeah, so that was a fun segment. It got very deep. It was a lot to think about, but it's great. But we'll be here every week in quarantine talking about the show. We're here, and clearly it has a deeper message, and I highly recommend it. So, Cody, tell us where people can find you in the meantime.
In the meantime, you can find me on Instagram at Cody Epp, CODYYEPP, and Twitter as Cody_Epp. And then I'm also doing the after show for Dragnificence, so another drag queen show for AfterBuzz on Tuesdays.
You did say you forget the schedule.
My schedule is so messed up right now. I cannot keep track.
That's funny. That's awesome. Okay, well, great. Thanks. Great job, Cody. And then you can find me at @AmirYas_ on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And I also host a live gay Twitter panel covering everything on gay Twitter every Thursday for AfterBuzz at 5 p.m. And it's live. So come hang out with us. And we usually have guests, so it's super fun. Thanks, guys, for watching. Thanks again, Cody.
You.
Take care.
My pleasure.
Bye, y'all.
See you next time.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.